Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. We are still very early in Season 3, and so I know most people still have a lot of hostile takeovers that they need to do. I know some of you are insane, absolute legends and are done already, which is crazy, but hey, there are always those raider caches that you can go for, so you can still get some benefit from watching this video and trying this build out. I'm sure all of us at some point have joined a hostile takeover and gotten absolutely wrecked by a sambuk. I know a lot of people, because of this, whenever they see a sambuk in a hostile takeover that they've joined, they just leave the hostile takeover and look for a different one. And I also know that a lot of people just don't want to do hostile takeovers. They don't want to fight for it at all, so they just leave whenever anyone shows up. But the days of seeing a sambuk in a hostile takeover and leaving are over. Those days are done and gone. If everybody wants to run sambuk, then we are going to spec our builds out to counter them. We have a couple pieces of furniture that really make this effective against sambuks, but the fact that sambuk also has the lowest health in the game also plays very well into how this build fights. Some of the furniture is going to be really hard to get. The build is going to be pretty hard to put together, I'm not going to lie to you. If you want something that is easy to put together, go ahead and check out my Helm Wager build in the top right corner of the screen here. It is still a PvP build, so you could still have fun doing some PvP. It just serves a different purpose in the game. This one is more for hostile takeovers. But as I said, some of the furniture and items are going to be hard to get, so you're probably going to have to trade for some of these. But we'll talk more about that once we get to the furniture section of the video. But as you can see from these clips, sambuks are probably the easiest ship for us to sink now. And they even run away from us sometimes when they feel our damage and see that they can't hurt us the way that they do most other players. Also, stay tuned to the end of the video to see a takeover that I did that shows how survivable this build really is. I have a bark and a sambuk both attacking me, and it is insane what happens. I don't want to give too much about it away, but I promise it is worth the watch. Alright, so let's get into this build. Because most of the items are pretty hard to get, I am going to tell you where to get everything, but I'm going to include that after I include the build. We're going to go weapons, armor, furniture, then we're going to do food and health kits, and then we'll go talk about where to get everything. So as always, if you want to read the stats on the right here, you can pause the video at any point in time, but to keep things as short as possible, I just explain why I use each thing. We are using the Padewakang for our ship. The reason we're using that is for the detonate and siege passives, because we are using bombard weapons and they do explosive damage, and this buffs explosive damage more than any other ship. So for our ports, we are using the 1000-Year Monsoon. This is the new bombard weapon. You can buy it at the black market. The reason we're using it is for the Deluge passive, the 15% chance to deal 2500 severe damage. This chance is increased to 30% when target has the flooded status effect. We're going to be able to flood them pretty well just using these and some furniture to buff the flooded effect of these bombards. And then for our auxiliary weapon, we are going to be using the new Crouching Tiger Mortar. This thing's going to hit pretty hard, and it's going to apply the taunting status effect to enemies, the new taunting status effect, as well as burning. It will apply burning almost every hit. Depending on how much burning resistance they have, it can apply it every time you hit them with it. But the taunting is guaranteed, and what taunting does is it decreases their damage by 50%, no matter what, if it's enemy, player, or NPC. But if it's an NPC ship, it will make them focus target you. So on this build, you're really going to want to try and only hit players with it. You're not going to want to try and hit NPCs with it unless you're just trying to sink NPC ships and race to see who can get to the hostile takeover 100% completion first. But if you're trying to PvP and actually sink the other person, I definitely recommend hitting them with that and trying to avoid hitting NPC ships with the Crouching Tiger Mortar. And for the armor, you've got a couple options. I've chosen to go with the Ouroboros armor for the flooding and burning resistance that it provides, as well as the severe damage healing. The severe damage healing is almost necessary this season. Flooding is very strong and severe damage is very strong. So Ouroboros might actually be outperforming Black Prince this season, potentially. I think the game developers did that on purpose because I think they want Black Prince to not be the only thing that everybody's going for. I think they wanted flooding and severe damage to really be really big this season. I could be wrong about that though, but however, Black Prince is still a very good option. If you don't want to use Ouroboros, Black Prince is still incredibly good. It can really make the difference between whether you survive or die whenever you get low health and you're just waiting on that repair kit cooldown. And in week 3 of this season, they're going to be coming out with a new armor called Phoenix Crest. This is going to be a really good armor that applies taunted status effect to enemies who attack us, and the more enemies that are taunted, we get 100% brace recovery for each enemy that's taunted. So that is going to be a good option, and I'm definitely going to try that out. I don't know if it's going to be better than Ouroboros, but if it is, then we're definitely going to be using that. Alright, so for furniture, we're going to go ahead and talk about these two before we talk about the major. We'll come back to them again, but the reason I want to talk about these two, leather fashioning station and company screens, is if you use these two on any ship build, it's going to make it easier to fight sambuks. It gives a lot of resistance to the burning charge, so it's going to take a lot longer for them to build up the ablaze effect on us. If they're using Infernal Maw, they can build it pretty much instantly, but it's also going to give us enough resistance against the ablaze effect that we can basically just let them leave us ablaze. We don't need to use a restoration kit to get rid of it and not really worry too much about how much damage it does. But we're going to come back and talk more about these in a minute. We'll get back to the major furniture. So for our major furniture, we're using Munitions Mixer. You can use this Spiteful Spike Station. I was using it. It's really not good. I really recommend to use Munitions Mixer. Spiteful Spike Station looks really good. It will be really good probably with like ship builds that use ballistas and long guns that can really focus those weak points, but it is incredibly difficult to hit weak points effectively. With the bombards, you can just aim at the ship and you will hit weak points kind of randomly sometimes, but because it's so random and there's only a 25% of it proccing when you do hit the weak points, it's still very low. I ran it for a while and I could only get it to proc about 10% of the time when fighting players. So the Munitions Mixer is going to increase the duration of the ablaze and flooded effect, which we're applying both of those to ships, so that's going to increase their duration. If you do the math, it does actually do more damage. It just increased the duration so that they can actually use restoration kits to restore it before the full damage is applied. But even if they do use a restoration kit, you're going to be able to build these effects up pretty quickly on them again, so it really doesn't matter. And that's going to be because of some of the furniture pieces I'm going to show you here in just a minute. So to buff our overall damage, we are going to be using Bombard Menagerie. I don't think that's how you say that, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it, is Menagerie. So this increases our bombard damage by 10%. The rest of it doesn't matter so much. The damage to structures is nice when destroying towers. We're not using repair weapons, so that one doesn't matter. But the big one is that bombard damage. We used to have to use the powder kegs, port and starboard side. That just buffed the bombards on the sides. But now, since we have this, and it's actually pretty easy to get this season, we can get 10% damage buff to all of our bombards all across the board. And it's really nice. So the leather fashioning station is going to be the hardest item to get. I'll talk more about that here in the end, but it is going to be hard to get because it's just not available right now. I got it from the summer event, but again, I'll talk about how it could potentially be gotten before next summer, because I doubt that you're going to have to wait that long to get it again. And there is always trading. But what this does is it's going to reduce the ablaze damage by 15%, the charge rate of ablaze by 12, and the duration by 10. The duration kind of sucks, honestly. I wish it didn't have that because we kind of just wanted to leave us ablaze because it doesn't really hurt. It doesn't really hurt too much when we have this equipped. And we can always just like brace all the other damage coming in, so that way all we're taking is that ablaze damage. What synergizes really well with that is the company screens, because it does give us the area of effect damage reduction by 15%, which is really good for fire bombards, which most sandbug builds are using. So that really makes it to where those fire bombards are basically doing nothing to us. If you see in that clip earlier when they were shooting the fire bombards at me on that sand bucket, it was like doing very little damage. And it also reduces the incoming burning charge by 7%. So we're getting 12% here and 7% here for a total of 19% reduction to incoming burning charge. That's almost 20% reduction to the charge. So it's going to take them a long time to build up burning charge on us if they're not using Infernal Maw. And then to help us build up the flooded status effect, we're going to be using these next two pieces of furniture. The density furnace is going to increase charge rate of the flooded status effect by 8% and the duration by 8%. And then we're going to be using the bombard works as well, which increase the secondary damage of bombards by 19%, which is flooded and explosive. So it's going to increase that flooded damage, which is going to build up that flooded status effect even faster. If you really are having a hard time getting your mortars to land, you can switch this out for a mortar powder house, but I just really prefer the bombard works. As for our foods, the best food is going to be the mermaid's tears. The second best food is going to be the kuharabu food. The third best food is going to be the ragu. These did get a little bit of a nerf, which I'll be talking about in a different video, but this is going to give us 30% brace strength, which is huge. That's basically why we're using all of these foods. This one is really nice because it gives us stamina regen and reduces stamina consumption, but it only gives us 20 as well as this one. And this one actually increases crew damage, which can be nice. But overall, the more brace strength we have, the better, which is why Mermaid's Tears just slightly outperforms the Kuharabu food, and the Kuharabu food slightly outperforms the Ragu. For our repair kits, we're going to be using Enhanced Repair Kit 1, and our backup is going to be an Enhanced Repair Kit 2, and that's only going to be there for when we're outside of combat so that we're not wasting our Enhanced Repair Kit 1s. But when you're in combat, when you're fighting players, you pretty much only want to use Enhanced Repair Kit 1s, and that is it, with this build at least. Alright, so where to get everything? Let's talk about one item before we get into all of the others. The furniture item, the bombard works. This is just one that you simply craft, and it's very easy to get early on. I'm going to show you how to just do all of the ones that you craft, how to get them, and where. Basically, how you're going to find out how to get just about every single item is to go to your carpenter or your blacksmith. Blacksmith is going to be for weapons and armor. Your carpenter is going to be for all your furnitures. Now for weapons and armor, we're not going to need to go to the blacksmith because both of those are from the black market vendor. But I'm just going to show you real quick how you can talk to the carpenter to find out the locations of all the blueprints of every item. Go to craft new item. Go over here. We'll go to bombard menagerie. We already have that one. But let's say I wanted to do boatswain toll. Over here you can see on the right the missing blueprint. It's found in Red Isle. You can purchase it from John Skurlock. However, if we look at the sea fireworks, it's at the Rimpar Warrior in Bukit Candy. You might not know where that's at. So in order to make it show up on the map, you can just hit X or whatever it is down at the bottom right of the screen. You can see it says track blueprint. On Xbox, it's X. It'll be square on PlayStation, and I'm not sure on PC what it would be, but you just hit that. It'll put a little symbol on the item there, as you can see in the menu. And then when you go to the map and scroll out, you will see a little icon, little yellow icon somewhere on the map, and that's where you'll go and you'll talk to a merchant and buy the recipe from them. So pretty much any item, if you're looking for it, if the carpenter, if it is a craftable item, then go to the carpenter or the blacksmith and track the blueprint, and that way it'll just take you straight to where you need to go. So for all of our weapons, they are purchasable with sovereigns this season in the black market. You can buy the 1,000-year monsoon for 350 sovereigns each, and the crouching tiger for 450 sovereigns. For the Ouroboros armor, you're going to want to come over here to Lenitra. When you load in, you're just going to want to turn to the right, talk to this guy right here, the Sea People Master, Hunt Master. And if you go to buy and sell, you can see that he will sell you the Ouroboros armor blueprint. And then you just need to craft it using the scales and monstrous tooth. The way you're going to get the monster tooth and scale is going to be by fighting the Zamaharabu when it is available. You can also get the monstrous teeth by fighting all of the sea monsters, but the Zamharabu scales, obviously you're going to have to fight that Zamharabu. As for the Black Prince and the Bombard Menagerie, you can get both of those for 1,000 White Skull Rum from Skurlock. The items that it's going to take to craft these are a little expensive, but all of the items besides the Mangatite and the Green Heart and the Roselle, if you need Roselle, you don't need it for these two, but basically all items now, we used to have to farm rubber at the Sunny Capital, but we no longer have to do that. Every item now you can just buy with pieces of 8. You can then turn the lesser crafting materials into greater crafting materials and into greater crafting materials, and then you can just basically craft everything now. You don't actually have to go farm anything other than pieces of 8. You can just buy everything with pieces of 8 now with the new crafting system. I'm actually impressed with it. I thought it was going to be more of a time sink than what it is. It is still a time sink, don't get me wrong, but it actually might cut down on some of the farming time for some things. But again, Black Prince, Bombard Menagerie, you can purchase the blueprints from Skurlock. For the density furnace, unfortunately, you are going to have to come talk to Ranma the Incorrigible, but you buy this blueprint from her, and again, it is going to take high-level crafting materials, but it's not too bad. It really isn't too bad if you get a lot of pieces of 8 coming in. As for our other 2 pieces of furniture, the leather fashioning station and company screens, as far as I know, these are only available through drops. They may cycle through in the black market or through William Blackwood vendor, but from what I could tell in the patch notes, the black market items are only going to be things that you could buy with sovereigns, and then the William Blackwood items are only going to be items from the Smuggler's Pass seasonal progression. So Leather Fashioning Station, for me, it dropped from the Ice and Easy summer event, but I do think that there are merchant convoys that you can get it to drop from outside of that event. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%. If I figure it out, I'll drop a comment in the comment section below, but I'm like 80% sure that there is another way to get it, and you're not going to have to wait till next season or trade someone. But worst case scenario, get on Reddit, get on a Discord. You could probably find somebody with an extra one of these for sale. They're just probably going to ask for an arm and a leg for it, but if you're ready to pay for it, then you could probably find one. The company screens, however, there are a lot of them available. You can find them on subreddits and on Discord, and people aren't charging too much for them, and they will trade them for decent items, but the Chorus of Havoc should be coming back very soon. I did see it recently on a calendar on a website or on the in-game calendar somewhere. It is going to be coming soon within the next few weeks. So I would just wait until Chorus of Havoc comes back, and then when it does, farm the crud out of it and open as many white Aria chests as you possibly can. That's going to do it for the build and where to get all of the items, guys. As I said, I am going to include a Hostile Takeover that was basically a 2v1 here at the end. It is a little long. It's going to make this video quite long, but I promise it is worth the watch. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I will try my best to respond to any questions about the build. If you like the video, please leave a like, subscribe if you want more build videos like this one, and I will see you in the next one.